Hey guys, it's Annie. Welcome back to the channel and welcome to my first story time. There's gonna be tea involved. But before we get into the video, I just want to give a quick reminder that I do still have the giveaway going until we reach 200 subscribers. All you have to do is like and comment on every single video, starting with my second Mallorca video and onwards, and be subscribed obviously. And the more people you get to subscribe, the quicker we'll do the giveaway obviously. So make sure to share the video as well and my channel. But yeah, this might be a bit of a longer video, but that's only because there's a lot to go in here. So yeah, let's get into it. Okay, so obviously as a student, if you're a student or if you know a student, if you don't, I'm gonna fill you in, money may sometimes be an issue. So some of us students went home after, like, for the summer break, and we were looking for a summer job, me included. So I came back home for about 4 months, 3-4 months, something like that, and literally like less than a week into being home, I went out to look for a job. And the first place I went to look at is this pizza place that me and my family always order food from. So because of the fact that we used the pizza place quite a lot, the owner already, well, the boss already knew me, and you know, they knew my mom and everything. And so I walk in and I'm like, hey, so I'm looking for a summer job. Is there any chance you're looking for someone? And he was like, yeah, actually, like, I've been thinking about hiring someone. And I was like, oh, cool. To do what? And he was like, oh, customer service, like answering phones and stuff. And I was like, yeah, I can do that. So he was like, oh, it's great. How soon can you start? And I was like, anytime now. And he was like, oh, can you do 5 p.m. today? And I was like, huh, sure, I can. Yeah, of course. It was 2 p.m., just saying. So I went home, I got changed into something that, like, more appropriate. And it was basically just leggings and a random top that just covered, like, it was a turtleneck top, a black turtleneck top with like up to here. So I come in and he's like, do you not have anything like with more coverage? And I was like, no, not really, nothing that's like no print and stuff. So I went the next day and I went to like the little shopping mall down the road, and I bought a black men's polo shirt kind of thing for this job. It was £6. But yeah, I go in the first day at 5 p.m. and he basically, I went because he wasn't there. So I walk in and I see people like folding up the pizza boxes, so I walk straight to the back because the boss was on the phone. So I walk in and I'm just starting to fold the boxes, you know, and the boss comes in and he's like, oh, that's not your job. And I was like, oh, okay, what do you want me to do then? So he brought me out into the front desk and he's like, so you'll be answering telephone calls, like telephone orders, you'll be picking up online orders as well as orders that people come in face to face, basically. So I'm like, okay, yeah, I can do that. Literally, like, by the next day, not even that, literally the same day, he started teaching me how to make pizza. And by teaching me, I mean he made me look at how he was making the pizza, and then he was like, now you do the next one. And I was like, huh, I don't know what goes where, but okay. There was like a lot of toppings. There was like probably like at least 10-12 toppings, and there's a certain order that you have to put them on. So I was like, okay, I can try what goes when. So he showed me. He was like, so these are the first ones that you put down, then these ones and this one and blah blah blah. And literally, like by the, like a week later, I was doing phone calls, face-to-face orders, online orders, which was supposed to be my normal job. Like, that was supposed to be my job. this is just like a side note, I don't think that pizza bases were ever washed, because, or like if they did, they started doing it recently, because basically when you need to get like a base for like to reheat wings or something, you need to grab one of the like kind of bigger than smaller but smaller than medium ones, like special ones for the special orders. And the first one was hot, so I just reached for the last one at the bottom, and it was like green. And I washed it obviously because food hazard, but like that was disgusting. But anyway, so a week later I was doing more things than I was told I'd be doing on the first day, and I didn't have a contract like at all. And also I was being paid £6 an hour, which is below the minimum wage, because my minimum wage for my age is £6.20. So I was working minimum wage as well as doing more than what I was told I was working at. And in a mindset I was just like, oh, it's fine, I'll just ask the boss to like give me a raise by like 20 pence an hour to have the £6.20 minimum. And that never ended up happening. But yeah, so when I started out, there was me, the boss, another man in the kitchen. There was like 4 drivers, one of them started a day before me, and like within a week, I think, something like that, or like 3 days, a woman came, and she was supposed to be doing like taking out the pizzas and cutting them up, but she just spent most of her time in the back like cutting up the ingredients like peppers and whatever else needed cutting. And yeah, so there was quite a lot of us. So skip like 2 weeks after I started working there. Before I started working there, I told the boss that I have a 2-week holiday plan that was planned before I even like finished uni. And he was like, yeah, no, that's fine, when will you come back? So I told him a date, and he was like, yeah, that's fine, you booked it before you started working here. And I was like, I mean, yeah, duh. And I go away for the 2 weeks. Before I went, he ordered like this special like uniform for kitchen staff, which came like 3 days before I left, but he also ordered hats that didn't come until after I left. So when I came back, we had to wear like the specific shirts and hats. And yeah, so he spent, I don't know, there was like at least £10 on the shirts and probably like £5-10 on the hats. So keep that in mind. He spent money on new uniforms. So when I came back, one of the drivers, the driver that started a day before me, he was gone. Like, he was fired because he was talking too much, and like he was trying to do our job rather than like letting us do our job. He was basically really distracting, and he was flirting with me, but like I didn't mind because he liked me. So like I was like, whatever. So I come back, and like 4 days after I come back to work, one of the guys that was in the kitchen, remember there was the boss, me, another kitchen staff, and the drivers and stuff. So the other guy that was in the kitchen, he left 4 days after I came back, more or less, because he bought his own business. And when I came back, there was another person working there, a new person working there. He was the cousin of the lady that started like a few days after me. I am not trying to sound racist when I say this, but all of them spoke like another language. So they all spoke pretty broken English, but I spoke English. But they also spoke like, they were from like countries like Iran and stuff, so they spoke their own language. And they were from different places, but they all spoke pretty much a similar language, so they could communicate with each other with that other language that I didn't know. So they'd start talking to each other sometimes, like if there was no customers, or if there was a customer or two but like they needed something else, or they were just bored and started talking. And I was just sat there like, because I didn't know what the hell was going on, because I didn't speak the language, obviously. So yeah, so I didn't speak the language they spoke, which I think this is like my and my mom's theory. Um, I think they fired me. Basically, the reason they said that they're firing me for is because they can't afford me. Like, that is literally what they said, and I have proof. But I think why they really fired me is because I didn't speak their language, and it was a bit hard for them to communicate with me. Like, if they need something, they just shout it in their language and someone would get it. But I couldn't do that because I didn't speak it. And the reason I think that is because when they fired me, like, they fired me obviously a few days ago, but they fired me, but they still kept the girl, like the woman that joined a few days after me, and her cousin who joined like 2 weeks after me. So obviously I was a bit more experienced in like customer service and stuff like that than them, and I was doing pretty much everything, and they weren't. Like, the man was just making pizzas and sometimes doing deliveries, and the woman was just in the back cutting up the woman and her cousin were still working there when I was fired. And obviously I was doing a lot more than them. I was doing all of basically everything other than the side orders, and they were doing much less than me, but they were still kept like in the job, and I was fired. And yeah, I'm not sure what else to say really. Like, I went to work there and I told the boss that I'll probably work there until end of July, beginning of August, and they fired me like the second week of July, something like that. But yeah, that's my story of how I got fired. Whatever, I'm like, their loss because I was doing everything. I was probably bringing them more money because the customers liked me, and they didn't give me like a week's or 2 weeks notice or anything. They just fired me. One, pretty sure their pizza bases are like never washed, and if they are, they're rarely washed, or they've started doing it recently. The oven, that's like basically never cleaned. Like, you get like crumbs and stuff on like the bottom of the oven. When like pizzas come through, you also put like wraps and burger buns in there, and obviously like the crumbs just fall down, and that's basically never cleaned. They had this yellow booklet that was also a part of my feeling, like my job, but like it wasn't discussed. It's just like they told me to do that like later on, and it's basically they're supposed to be checking the fridges and the freezers temperatures and basically write it down, and if it's like below or above a certain temperature, they had to call the provider and stuff, but like they never checked the temperatures. They just told me like, oh, this is the minimum number for this and the maximum number for this, so like just switch them up, like write like this number first and then this one, and just mix it up basically. So they never checked the actual fridge temperatures, I don't think, and that's like pretty shitty because one of the fridges actually broke like 2 days before they fired me. It was pretty shit because I nearly had like an anxiety attack like 3 times in there. One of them was probably also a panic attack, but like it was a shit job. Like, the customers, like, you had to remember, even if there was like 7 customers at the same time, you had to remember who ordered what, so then you can give it to that person. And I didn't have that very good of a mind right then. Like, obviously I worked it out and I started remembering things, like, because I need to. It was basically like going through exams all over again, and that shit is stressful, and so was that job. It was very stressful. Like, I went in every day thinking, I hope no customer shouts at me today because I'd cry. And yeah, that's about it. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video. I know it's very long and I apologize. It was my first story time. You hopefully watched all of it. If not, then sorry. All my other videos are shorter, and I'm sure my next story time is probably going to be about this much. But yeah, give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, if you want to hear more story times for me. I don't know what else I'd have to say, but like if you I'm sure I'll remember something to do a story time with. And if I do, comment down below if you'd like to hear it, like more story times. And also like and comment because you want to be entered to the giveaway, and also subscribe. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Other than that, the Wolf Passion, one at all.